You're listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, where you get valuable information you just can't find anywhere else. To thrive in today's trying times, you need the Financial Survival Network, now more than ever. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and get your free newsletter and gift. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.
Welcome. You are listening to the Financial Survival Network. I'm your host, Kerry Lutz. Well, we bring you many opportunities on this show, ways to make money, passive income, active income, and hybrids of those two concepts. And really pleased to bring to you Jon Jasniak. And Jon, you buy and sell, you flip land. You're primarily doing it yourself in Texas, but you've got students all over the place. Hey, great to have you on. So tell me, how'd you get into flipping land?
Well, first off, thanks so much for having me, Kerry. I know your podcast. You've had some legendary names such as Peter Schiff and others on there that I really admire and look up to. So I'm blessed to be here and hopefully talk about a different form of real estate, which is land flipping, like you said. And, I've been doing it for 6.5 years now, like you said, mostly Texas based, but I've done deals kind of all over, and especially my students, we've done deals all over the country. And I found out about this business model on a podcast such as yours, and fast forward 6+ years later, have grown it to a multi-million-dollar business. And it's my favorite form of real estate, but I guess I'm kind of biased.
That's all right. So how much do are you buying the properties at tax deed foreclosure sales, or are you buying them otherwise?
I don't do much buying actually at tax deed foreclosure sales. What I've actually found is there's not that many great deals at the tax sales, especially nowadays. Every time I go, it seems like stuff is getting bid up. You can find a deal anywhere for sure, but that's not my favorite method. My favorite method is either direct mail or texting. We reach straight out to the landowners themselves and present them with what we think is a reasonable, fair offer. It depends on the size of the property, but it's usually anywhere from 30 cents to 70 cents of market value. And then depending on what we got going on, we turn around and sell it for more, or we subdivide it to add some value. And also actually finding a lot of deals online nowadays, just on the MLS, especially for these larger subdivisions.
Okay. So MLS, you find deals, but that's open to the general public. Are you getting a good deal there?
Yeah, I think it's kind of an underlooked avenue of land investing, especially the huge craze right now in land investing is kind of direct mail, and especially nowadays SMS, texting people with a CRM and mass blasting text campaigns straight to owners. And people seem to overlook the fact that you can still find deals online. So once a week, usually every Tuesday, I hop on either Lands of America, which is kind of like the Amazon or the eBay for land, or just Realtor.com or Zillow. And especially on these larger pieces, because, you imagine like $1 million piece of land, it can tend to be a little bit illiquid. It doesn't, it takes a certain buyer to be interested in something like that. And so there's a lot of opportunity to, I don't want to say lowball, but offer them less than what they're asking and offer them seller financing, try and have them carry the note, and then go in and add value, subdividing or selling it off in pieces. And you can even find smaller pieces online too. You got a lot of people out there just trying to make a buck, and they're just trying to take a little bit of profit off the table. So they put a piece of land out there, and you could buy it and turn around and sell it for more. I think of it almost like garage selling for land, right? You walk into the garage sale and you might find something that someone could have listed otherwise on eBay and made a bunch of money, but they have it for sale at the garage sale, and someone goes in there, scoops it up, and turns around and relists it for more.
Okay. So you're finding the deals. How do you sell it once you buy it?
Yeah, so great question. The sales process is one of my favorite, actually, just because social media nowadays makes it incredibly easy. I think Facebook, and in particular Facebook Marketplace, is like the most underlooked thing, not only in real estate, but in multiple different industries. Just the ability to get your listing in front of thousands, even tens of thousands of eyeballs at little to no cost. So I'm a huge proponent of Facebook. I use Facebook Marketplace, and you can actually run boosted ads on Facebook Marketplace. So you can, list an acre, 5 acre, 10 acres, whatever. It's kind of desert land or even close to the city, call it, near Dallas, Fort Worth, which is where I live. You post it to the Dallas, Fort Worth marketplace, run a boosted ad for as little as $10 a day, or my ads are sometimes a couple $100 a day. And what I find is a lot of times that land, especially if it's a high quality piece of land, moves within a week or two. Like I just sold one out near Midland, Texas. It was 1 acre of land for $20,000. We sold it, and I think it was 4 days with like $300 of ads on Facebook Marketplace. Alternatively, you could post on the MLS. I'm having a lot of success right now with like the pay per list MLS listings. I try to stay away from realtors, if I'm being honest, because I feel like they're not very motivated to sell land.
Well, it's a tiny commission. What do they?
Yeah, exactly. It's a tiny commission.
20,000, they make $2,000, and they got to schlep a prospective client into the swamplands. No, they're not.
Yeah, exactly. And they're not, like you said, a lot of that stuff they're not going to show. They're not going to drive out to the swamp or the desert an hour away from town. They're not going to show it. So, not motivated.
So going back to how you find the properties, MLS, and the other one, you're not going to tax deed sales. So what about the people who are facing an imminent tax deed foreclosure? You ever approach them?
Yeah, for sure. The county and other databases such as DataTree and some of these third-party websites that sell data and aggregate data make it pretty easy to see what someone's back taxes are. And so you can, certainly offer on someone who's racked up a bunch of back taxes, or pull yourself like a pre-foreclosure list, basically. And either high back taxes or out-of-state owners are probably the most highly motivated to sell, right? They got a piece of land in Texas. They might live in Florida, such as yourself, and they, for whatever reason, wanted to own a slice of Texas, and they bought a piece for $5-10 grand, and they've never used it. They've never seen it. They probably haven't paid their taxes, and they're like, what the heck am I doing with this piece of land? So that's what we do. We go in there and buy, that piece for $10,000. It's worth 15 or 20. We turn around and do a lot better job marketing it on Facebook or the MLS or Lands of America, and either sell it for cash or owner finance it. I'm a huge proponent of passive income and carrying the note myself.
Okay. So what's your average cost to acquire a property?
Well, where I'm at in my career right now, it's kind of crept up. I would say probably $40,000 or $50,000 is probably the average size of an acquisition for a beginner. Certainly when I was starting, it was less than $10,000 to buy 5, 10, 20 acres.
All right. So you're buying larger tracts of land then, aren't you? Not just like building lots?
Yes, sir. Nowadays, I'm doing a lot of subdividing. So I'm going in and buying these larger tracts. They're usually multi-six-figure deals, and then we'll break it down to 1 to 10 acre tracts depending. And, so a cost basis on one of those lots is probably 40 or 50 G's. But yeah, that's one thing I love about the land business though, is like you can get started for less than $5 grand. I mean, it's probably the lowest barrier to entry, I think, in any aspect of real estate. And if you love cash flow and love making some money, I think it's a great avenue to do it.
All right. Well, it's fascinating, and it sounds like the potential's there. How many deals are you doing a year now?
Don't just survive, thrive. The Financial Survival Network.
Torque Resources is an exploration company establishing a portfolio of premier copper-gold early-stage projects in Chile. Torque's management and technical teams have a strong track record of raising capital, discovery, and monetization of exploration successes. The company's Margarita Copper-Gold project is located within the prolific coastal Cordillera Belt in Chile, which hosts some of the world's largest and most profitable copper mines. The Margarita project possesses excellent discovery potential for a major copper discovery due to the strength of the alteration system, large-scale magnetic targets, and the presence of copper oxide mineralization. Drilling is anticipated to begin in Q3 of this year. Torque trades in Canada under TORQ and on the OTC under TRBMF. To learn more, go to torqueresources.com. That's torqueresources.com.
This is the Financial Survival Network. The information you need to thrive. Now more than ever.
A year, probably about 100. It's accelerating quickly. Like I was just thinking to myself today, it's hard to keep up. Honestly, even with the market that we're in, I'm still seeing a great demand for raw land, especially outside the city limits. That's what I love, is because you got so many people nowadays that want to move outside the city. So there's a huge opportunity for you to go in there and buy some of that and sell it to someone who wants it.
Yeah. Yeah. So what do you think here? How much time does somebody have to invest to get into it, and how much money can you make?
I like to say to my students, and kind of when I was starting off, like, plan on about 10 hours a week. If you want to start doing some deals, you can certainly do it for 10 hours a week. And just like any form of real estate, the more you put in, the more you're going to get out. If you want to do, several deals a year and make 50, you do 100K of extra income or passive income, you can plan on 10 hours a week. There's, plenty of folks out there with jobs, W-2s, or doing it on the side that I help do it and teach. And there's plenty of people out there with families and, kids, and they got whatever going on, another business, and they want to get into some form of real estate. So 10 hours a week, for me, obviously it's a full-time job, 40 plus hours a week. I love it. I'm doing all this stuff now, subdividing and buying towns. And so, the more you put in, it's like a linear relationship. The more you put in, the more you get out. And you can expect to make, with maximum effort. Certainly there's plenty of folks out there doing multi-six figures a year in land investing. And there's, several of us who are doing millions and millions a year in land investing. For the beginner, 20, 30, 50,000, that's just a few deals. Like I said, a few deals, 10 hours a week is a great avenue to add in a little bit of extra income on the side of whatever you got going on.
All right. And question, what's the best deal you ever made?
Best deal I ever made? That's a good question. It's probably sitting in my office here. I'm looking at it behind me. I got a plat map for my Jazz Acres subdivision out in West Texas. I gave the seller $250,000 down and $1.25 million over 10 years for 465 acres. I went in and made 74 different lots and sold those off. And the notes receivable on that is about 4.8 to 5 million. So it was about $3.5 million of profit, and I've sold off some of those notes since. So that was probably the best deal I ever did, and it was the scariest deal too, man. It was my first major subdivision.
I guess
stepping into it. Yeah, and it was life changing. Though it was worth the stress.
So, and then you bought the property. Subdivision's fairly straightforward, right? You just split up the lots. You file surveys, plats, and pay the fees, and then you've got lands. Did you ever rezone anything?
Yeah, so I've never done rezoning because technically I like to stay outside of city limits where I don't have to mess with any of that. There's certainly folks out there who are doing entitling, rezoning. Can be a very complicated business, but you can also make a lot of money doing it. I like to keep it simple. So I step outside of city limits in counties that are favorable to allow this subdivision process. It's not quite as easy, as you said, as just running out the surveyor, filing the fees, etc. It can be. You got really two types of subdivisions, minor and major. A minor subdivide where you have beautiful road frontage and you got a nice easy piece to break up and you give each lot road frontage. Yes, probably run out a surveyor, submit the fees to the county, submit a little plat, and call it good and start selling off your lot. Something like the Jazz Acres subdivision I did, where it's a quote-unquote major subdivision. You might have to build some dirt roads, run some power, etc. That can get a little bit more involved, but you're talking big bucks then. It's a lot more scalable. And it's really not that hard. If you got the right people in place and know the right contacts, a surveyor, and just get in contact with the county, they're going to walk you through everything you need. Each county has its PDF for subdivision regulations. As long as you follow that and, maintain communication and a relationship with those county officials and your surveyor, you're going to be okay.
So, yeah, the process isn't quite wham bam and you're done. There's a lot of steps. You need some lawyers often, surveyor's title. If you got a good surveyor, though, they can really pave the way because they're in with the county and they can get things expedited that ordinarily you couldn't. And you might need a lawyer who can do that as well, right?
Yeah, some of my first deals and most of my first deals, I actually did not use a lawyer. It was only until recently where I found a really awesome attorney who kind of works for me now for these really big, complicated deals. But starting off, most folks are not going to need an attorney. It's just a decent surveyor. And some of these deals, like you said, are sort of wham bam, like that easy. Like I've done deals where it's beautiful road frontage. I'll run the surveyor out there, say, hey, break it up like this, 7 different lots, 10 acres, boom, boom. He stakes it all off, creates plat maps for everything. And I'm off and running, selling those lots basically within a week. And a lot of these counties have platting exemptions, so I wouldn't even have to, quote unquote, go through the county or go through platting on that. In a lot of cases on these minor subdivides, it's just run out a surveyor, have them break it out with plat maps, and you're basically ready to sell.
All right. So how much should somebody who's starting out doing this stuff, how much money should they have to invest?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think as a beginner, I certainly advocate starting small. I think no matter what, you got to start small. I think 5 to 10 grand is a decent amount of starting capital, and you can get things done with that. So that's why I recommend usually 10 grand. You can start for less. For these big subdivides, I think, or even minor subdivides, I think probably 50K or so is a good starting amount to kind of start dabbling into subdivisions. You can certainly do it smaller. You can find smaller subdivisions. For the flips, you can find land out there. I'd challenge any of your viewers to go to just Lands of America, go to like Arizona, Florida, Texas, set your filters to like max purchase price of 5K, and you're going to find land for sale less than $5,000 out there. Sometimes less than $1,000, actually. It's pretty crazy.
Very cool. I love it. So, so you're looking at primarily undeveloped land though, right?
Yeah, I like undeveloped land. I try not to develop it myself. I mean, outside of building roads, I don't do anything ground up really with my land. I kind of put that all off to my customers, and there's a couple reasons for that. I mean, economically, I'm a huge yield and IRR guy. So when you just start looking at the yield and the rate of return on, okay, I'm having to drill my customers a well, I'm having to put in a septic, I'm, potentially building on the land. I like delivering them the land raw and putting all of those costs onto them. And, although you could certainly probably scale and make a lot more money going ground up, doing condos, doing developments, etc., from a pure return basis, I have not found a higher yield than just delivering them raw land with as little upfront costs on my end as possible. So yes, undeveloped land outside of city limits is kind of key for me.
Okay. All right. Well, we appreciate you coming on, Jon. Just tell us where we find you, how we connect with you on the web.
Sure. I love social media. You can find me all over social media, just at Jon Jasniak, JONJASNIAK. Instagram's my biggest. YouTube is growing, and then my website, jonjasniak.com. So I would love to connect with many of y'all. If you find land interesting to you, shoot me an email, shoot me a DM. I answer all of it. So
very cool. All right. Hey, we appreciate you coming on. Got a question for Jon, myself, KL@kerrylutz.com, or don't hesitate to write a comment down below on the YouTube channel. Jon, appreciate you coming on. Good luck, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks so much for having me, Kerry.
Thanks for listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, your solution to today's trying times. For the latest, go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.